Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Srimiti Arman with the matrix number of BT 24110129, and today I'll be presenting on the topic the semantics of a logical meta-language. Now, what is my objective in doing this research? So my objective for this video is that it is to help students learn on how a special language that was called a meta-language can be used to explain the meaning of words and sentences in a second language so that they can be better understanding and use and also think about the language clearly. Now, you guys might wonder, what is the semantics of logical meta-language? So, a meta-language is a special language we use to talk about another language, which we call the object language. Think of it like this. If the object language is the message, the meta-language is the tool that we use to explain that message. Moving on, let's talk about the key aspect of the semantics of a logical meta-language. So, what are the first key aspects for this meta-language? The first key aspect is that it is used as formal representation. What does it mean? Meta-language often use formal systems like logic to define the meanings of expression. So for example, let's say the object language contains the sentence, all cats are animal. Like you can see in the slide, in a logical meta-language, we can represent this formally as the symbol that was shown in the slide. For example, the explanation for this symbol is that the upside down triangle X mean for all X, and cat X mean X is a cat. Moving on, animal X, that means X is an animal. And meanwhile, the arrow implies. So the whole statement means for all X, if X is a cat, then X is an animal. This formal representation removes all ambiguity and help us understand that the logical structure of the sentence, which is especially useful in language analysis and translation or maybe reasoning. The next key aspect is mapping between language. Next, we have the concept of mapping between the object language and the meta language. For example, take this sentence, John runs. In the meta language, we might write this as run in the bracket John and close the bracket. Here, John maps to the object John. So John is the object and runs mapped to the predicate or function. For example, run X. This process helps break down natural sentences into structured, logical representations. The next key aspect is truth and validity. So, one powerful use of logical meta-language is in evaluating truth and validity. Let's consider this argument. First argument is all birds can fly. Second argument is a penguin is a bird. The third one, therefore, a penguin can fly. Logically, this is valid because the conclusion follows from the premises, but in reality, the first statement is false since not all birds can fly. So, the conclusion is false even if the logic is valid. This shows us that validity and truth are not the same. The next key aspect is inference and argumentations. So, logical meta-language also help us with inference. For example, first one, if it rains, the ground gets wet. The second one, it is raining. The third one, therefore, the ground is wet. In logic, this is called modus ponens. We write it as rain implies wet ground. So, it's a clear and structured way to test if arguments are valid or not. The other one is level of abstraction. Finally, Meta-language also help us look at language on different levels like syntax and semantics. Take the sentence, Sarah eats apples. At the syntax level, we might describe it as subject plus verb plus object. But at the semantic level, we write it as eat in the bracket Sarah, comma, apples, close the bracket. So we understand not just how the sentence is built, but also what does it mean. Now, we're moving on. What are the examples of meta-language? Based on the research done by Goddard 2008, there are a few examples of meta-language. These are the few examples that were stated in his research. The first example is Natural Semantics Meta-Language, which is shortened as NSM. So, in this one, a meta-language used for lexical semantics where word meanings are described as mini-text constructed from a control language. The second one, a meta-language for programming language. So, in this one, a meta-language was used to define the semantics of programming language, such as denotational semantics. And the last one are formal logic, where meta-language are used to describe and analyze the logical structure of expression in various language. Now we all done with the logical thingy. Let's moving on to the questions. So these are the two questions that commonly asked while teachers were teaching about this. So the first question is, what is the main purpose of a logical meta-language in analyzing a second language? So the answer for this is that the main purpose is to describe and explain the meaning of expression in a second language using a clear and structured system, which can help learners understand grammar, meaning, and logical relationship more accurately. Next is the second questions. How does a logical meta-language help in evaluating the truth of a statement? So, a logical meta-language can represent statement in a formal way, for example, using logic symbols, which make it easier to check whether the statement is true or false, like it was stated before, and whether an argument or conclusion logically follows from the given information or not. Now we are done with our slide, my slide technically. So in conclusion, to sum it up, the semantics of a logical meta-language provide a framework for understanding and analyzing the meaning of expression in another language, often using formal methods to define the relationship between the meta-language and the object language.